Hello guys, it's Officer Art. Good to see everybody. Today we're going to be over here at the APD. We're on the West Side Range over here. We're at the West Side Airport, Double Eagle 2 Airport. And we're out here with our APD air unit. Like I've been promising you guys, we're going to check out all this. And with me today is Sergeant Taylor of the air unit. And Sergeant Taylor is going to take a couple of minutes to show us around and kind of show us a new aircraft and show us what we're looking at. Okay guys? So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sergeant Taylor.
All right, well, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's an honor. Like Officer Acosta said, we're out here at Double Eagle Airport. That's where we are based out of. We are all police officers, but instead of patrol cars, we get to patrol and fight crime with machines like you see behind us here, which is our older helicopter, Air 1. One of the other tools that we have over here is an airplane, which is Air 5, and that's a Cessna 182. That has been in service for 30 years, and it still to date is still operating and serving the citizens of Albuquerque. So basically our helicopters do most of the nighttime patrol, and the reason they do that is both of our helicopters have special cameras, and these cameras aren't like night vision, because night vision still requires a form of light. We don't see light, we see heat. So the computer in that camera sees heat in all of the environment. It converts that into a black and white image, which we call grayscale, that our eyes can understand, and so we can see anything in the dark, even complete darkness where there is no light. So that's what helps us. So that's why the helicopters primarily work at night. And then, of course, Air 5 works pretty much during the day. This particular helicopter was built back in 2001, so it's 20 years old. And as I said, Air 5, it's about 30 years old. And then we have our brand new helicopter, which isn't out flying right now because it is in maintenance. And again, even though we are police officers and we do fly, we actually also do all of the maintenance on these aircraft in-house. Of course, we have special training to do so. We have officers that have special training to do so. Not just anybody can pick up a wrench and work on them. But we do that maintenance. So our brand new helicopter is in maintenance right now, and that was built in 2019. So it's just a little bit over a year old. And it has some amazing technology on board, which again has those special cameras and other computers that help us do our job. Well, this is the Albuquerque Police Department hangar. This is where we keep all our aircraft. Again, here's our airplane, Air 5. She has a special little tug that tows it outside. It's an electric tug, so it just loads up on that and it pulls it out the door for us. We have our pilot lockers so we can keep our flight gear, our helmets, and our flight suits. The glass area there is for briefings so that when we need to talk, or it's even a break room, need to grab a little lunch or anything like that, we can also brief of any kind of mission we have in there. Any aircraft that are in service ready to fly sit up front by the door, so that's why the airplane and Air 1, our older helicopter, are up front, because they are in service and they're ready to respond for calls for service. And then back in this area is our maintenance bay. So any aircraft that's in maintenance sits back here out of the way so that we don't have to move it to get the aircraft in service outside. This way they're out of the way and they can be taken apart, inspected, and any maintenance conducted, put back, reassembled, and then they'll go back up on the line to fly. So this here is our new helicopter, Air 2. As I said, it's only a little over a year old, but it is in some very heavy maintenance right now. And we have to do the inspections because we want to make sure if there's anything wrong with the aircraft, it's found before it becomes a problem. So unlike a car that you drive till it breaks down, instead we constantly do periodic checks and maintenance on these aircraft to ensure that we can't just pull over in the sky and make sure everything's working okay. So we do these inspections for that reason. And so one of the main things is both these helicopters are powered by jet engines, unlike the airplane, which has an engine very similar to what's in your car. These have jet engines. So you can see here, this is the turbine engine. So it burns jet fuel. And that turbine, when it's spinning, it has a shaft under it, which goes out to the gearbox, which you see here, just in front of the turbine. And this gearbox sends the power up to the main rotor and back to the tail rotor, which neither are on right now. Right now the rotor blades are back behind the camera on a bench, and the rotor head is torn in pieces for inspection. If you want to move up towards the cockpit here, you'll see that it's very modern. There are no more instruments. Right now, instead of regular instruments, pretty much everything is computerized in this aircraft. So now, instead of having the old round gauges that they used to have in aircraft, we have a full series of computer-generated screens that give us all of the same information. This camera here, this is what sees the images that we put on the thermal imager, but it also has cameras so that when we're landing off-site, we can see behind and underneath the aircraft for safety. So this here is showing you underneath this helicopter, and this is looking back towards its tail rotor. And then these are all of our instruments, which are generated by a computer. Okay, so in comparison to the other helicopter you just saw, this again is Air 1, which is about 20 years old. And as you can see, instead of the fancy, we do have some screens here, but as you can see, the flight instrumentation is not like the other one. These are the old round, what we like to call steam gauges, which is old technology. And these have now been removed, and as you saw in the other helicopter, have been replaced by computer screens, which are actually safer, and they actually make the aircraft a little lighter in the fact that these gauges are actually, what you just see is the round front part, but those gauges are pretty long. They go about a foot back into this panel, and they're quite heavy, and they have moving gyroscopes inside them, which add weight. Everything on that helicopter is electronic, and they're thin. They don't go all the way back into the panel, and it makes it lighter. And it's also more accurate because instead of depending on mechanical gauges, we're depending on electronic gyros that are laser gyros and far more accurate and just far more dependable.
Tell me, sir, what are the applications of the various aircraft as opposed to a propeller, single-engine propeller plane as compared to the helicopter?
Well, there's a wide variety. It's just like, an officer carries many tools on their Sam Brown because, well, different things require different tools. Mm-hmm. And it's no different with air support. So the airplane is a great tool as far as surveillance. The airplanes can typically stay aloft much longer and can go greater distances, more so than the helicopters. The helicopters burn more fuel, and they typically have shorter range and shorter endurance times. So if we're following some really bad guys and we have to go long distances, there's times we've had to follow, people with felony warrants, federal felony warrants. We've had to follow them out of state. This aircraft is ideal for that. So because it has such a long range. This can fly for about 6.5 hours without refueling. The helicopters, usually about 3 hours is kind of their limit. If it's really cold, we might be able to squeeze 3.5 hours out of them. So that's where the airplane is much better for that, especially if they're going to do warrant service and they want us to check a big area. The airplane can be good for that. The helicopters are better at patrol because you're down a little bit lower. The cameras they have can see at night, in the darkness, and in daytime.
Okay, so Sergeant Taylor, thank you so much, sir. It was
an
honor being here. Thank you for your time, of course, sir. We understand you guys are very busy and you have a lot of responsibilities here. Thank you for your time, for showing us and the kids. And guys, I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is really cool. We're proud of our new hangar, APD, and we're happy to be in here, and it was an honor to be here today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.